The Airbus A380, the largest passenger aircraft ever built, has long been regarded as the pinnacle of modern aviation. A flying fortress of luxury, precision, and sheer engineering brilliance. But even the most advanced aircraft are not immune to disaster. And on this fateful day, one such giant was pushed to its limits as flames engulfed its massive engine moments after takeoff. Passengers settled into their seats, unaware that their journey was about to take a terrifying turn. The aircraft rumbled down the runway, the thrust of its four powerful engines lifting its enormous frame into the sky. For a moment, all seemed normal, until the unthinkable happened. Flames erupted from one of the massive Rolls-Royce Trent 900 engines, sending a burst of fire and smoke trailing behind the aircraft. Inside the cockpit, the pilots were suddenly bombarded with alarms. Warning lights flashed, piercing alerts filled their ears, and the aircraft's sophisticated systems struggled to contain the crisis. In an instant, their years of training kicked in. They had to act fast. Was the fire spreading? Could they shut down the affected engine before it caused catastrophic failure? Should they turn back immediately or try to stabilize at altitude? For the passengers in the cabin, the first sign of trouble was subtle. A sudden jolt, a vibration that rippled through the aircraft. Some passengers dismissed it as turbulence. Others, peering through the windows, noticed the glow of flickering flames. Within seconds, the panic began to spread. Murmurs turned into gasps. Flight attendants moved quickly, trying to maintain order, masking their own fears behind their professional calm. Fire on an aircraft is every pilot's nightmare. And the Airbus A380, though equipped with the most advanced safety systems, was now in a fight for survival. The flight deck was filled with an eerie tension. The pilots, despite the chaos, remained composed. Their training prepared them for emergencies, but this was not a routine failure. This was a fire, something no pilot ever wants to face. Air traffic control was alerted. "Mayday, mayday, mayday," came the chilling call. The controllers, highly trained for such moments, immediately sprang into action, clearing the airspace and preparing for a possible emergency landing. The airport, now on high alert, mobilized its emergency response teams. Fire trucks lined the runway, ambulances stood ready, and crews prepared for the worst. But this was not the first time an Airbus A380 had faced a near disaster. The aviation world still remembers the harrowing Qantas Flight 32 incident, an event that had eerily similar circumstances. A mid-air engine explosion sent shrapnel tearing through the aircraft's wing, damaging crucial flight control systems. The pilots of that flight had to fight tooth and nail to keep the aircraft in the air. And now, history seemed to be repeating itself. What had caused the fire? A fuel leak? A mechanical failure? A bird strike? Investigators would have to determine the cause later. For now, the focus was on survival. The pilots executed emergency shutdown procedures, attempting to isolate the burning engine. But the fire was relentless, its tendrils of smoke stretching along the fuselage. The aircraft, still heavy with fuel from the long journey ahead, faced another major risk, a potential explosion. Dumping fuel wasn't an option. Time was against them. The only solution was to return to the airport immediately. As the aircraft banked back toward the runway, passengers clutched their armrests, their breaths shallow. Some whispered prayers. Others sent final messages to loved ones, fearing the worst. The ground crews waited in tense silence, eyes locked on the approaching behemoth. Would it make it? Would the pilots manage to land safely, or was this flight destined to end in tragedy? The landing gear deployed. The runways stretched ahead, illuminated by emergency lights. The aircraft descended, its damaged engine still trailing smoke. The pilots gripped the controls, their hands steady despite the immense pressure. The moment of truth had arrived. The A380 touched down with a jolt. Tires screeched against the tarmac, smoke billowed as the brakes engaged. Fire trucks surged forward even before the aircraft came to a stop. Foam cannons blasted the burning engine, extinguishing the flames within moments. And then silence. The cabin erupted into cheers, sobs, and prayers of relief. Against all odds, they had survived. But the questions lingered. What had gone wrong? How could an aircraft of such engineering excellence suffer such a critical failure? Investigations would follow, analyzing maintenance records, flight data, and eyewitness accounts. Aviation is an industry built on precision, but disasters, near or real, serve as grim reminders of its fragility. The Airbus A380, a symbol of aviation dominance, had once again proven its resilience. But as history has shown, no aircraft is invincible. As investigators searched for answers, the world of aviation braced for the next challenge. Because in the skies, where giants roam, survival is never guaranteed.